Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the IRWP It's Real Wrestling Podcast. We've got a good episode for you. I'm Ben Goosen here along with my boy Sage the I should let that go like they used to do on the Arsenio Hall show, shouldn't I?
Dun 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 dun. Oots, 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 oots. What up, Goose?
Yo, what's up, man? Hey, we got a busy show. You ready to just hop right into it?
No, actually.
All right.
I, Yo, so before we get into this stuff, man, I just wanted to let you know what I did this week. So do you remember when I told you that the reason why I bought an Xbox One, like originally why I bought an Xbox One?
So I know you have the beta version, and no, I don't, because I know you're a fan of, was it Assassin's? No, there's a game that you're a big fan of that's just proprietary to PlayStation. Maybe God of War or something like that. No, why?
So as many people know, I'm definitely could be categorized as a Sony fanboy, but during the PlayStation 3 era, there was a good point in time where we were not getting any type of RPGs whatsoever, and all the RPGs were going to Xbox 360. So when I originally purchased a Xbox One, I was under the impression that it was going to be backwards compatible with Xbox 360 games, and unfortunately, I got duped. And I think that I even recall, like, at one of the E3s, that was actually the selling point of the console, is that, hey, it's going to be backwards compatible, and it just wasn't. So apparently in December they dropped the backwards compatibility for Lost Odyssey, which was one of the biggest titles for Xbox 360 that I never got to play. And this week I got a whiff. I found out about it. Your boy went to that GameStop, paid that $9.50, got that Lost Odyssey. Yo, that backwards compatibility is no joke, son. It really works, man. Good
So,
stuff, and that's a great game.
so did you get on the? Because I've played a couple of backwards compatible games. So do they have like faster rendering just because you're on an updated console? Because I know the graphics look cleaner, but they're not officially, it's not converted to 1080 or anything like that.
Um, I think it's 720p if I'm not mistaken. It's which is pretty decent. It runs like a charm, man. It runs like the graphics and the video is a little outdated, like the CGI, but the graphics of the actual gameplay is actually pretty good. Um, there's no lag whatsoever. The only faux pas is that, the it's a 20 gig download.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
So that was fun. But outside of that, man, it was pretty good, man. Like, I'm playing it right now, man. I'm like 80 hours in, so, or not 80 hours. I'm like 15 hours in right now. So
Well, 20 gigs. So I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think back. So Xbox 360 games used to be on the later gen games that were heavier in memory use. Used to be on dual layer DVD minus R's. And I want to say those were only, I think, 7.5 to 8.6 per layer. So that puts you at right at around 17 gig. So I guess just by updating it, I don't know, to the graphics or the rendering or the frames or whatever, I guess there's an extra 3 gig in there. How I know that Xbox 360 games used to be on dual layer DVD-Rs, I'm not gonna say out loud. I'll just say I happen to do some research on the topic, and yeah, so I know that stuff. I used to know some people who maybe it was me, maybe it wasn't, who used to bootleg Xbox 360 games. But that's Ben Goosen. Ben Goosen does things all the time. He doesn't even know what he does. But so are you pumped about the Xbox One S? By the way, what up, Mel Johnson? For you, those of y'all listening to the audio podcast, we do this live, unedited, unscripted. Well, I guess we're unscripted when we do the audio podcast as well. We don't cut anything out. So yeah, we do it live. So if ever you wanted to actually join us live, we do it on YouTube every Thursday night. Just type in It's Real Wrestling Podcast on YouTube and you'll find us. We'll pop right up. So back to the matter at hand. Are you looking forward to the Xbox One S? Or is this just a cop-out upgrade?
I'm gonna wait and see. At E3, there was a couple of games that I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was one that was kind of like an open world shooter, like a Destiny type of game, which I think is taking full capabilities of the Project Scorpio.
It was the one in the woods, right?
And that one looks pretty sick, but I don't think that one's coming out until next year. So I'm probably gonna wait before I decide to make the jump for it, if it's even worth it at that point.
So I'm on the fence myself. I'm in desperate need of an Xbox upgrade because I've got the original, the OG Xbox One. Nah, you know what? I might have gotten second gen because I got it about a year after it came out. But I'm at constant 95% hard drive space taken. Anytime I buy a new game, like Madden, that I'm gonna get tomorrow. Anytime I buy a new game, I gotta delete a game. Anytime I download a game, anything like that, I gotta delete a game or two. So I'm trying to knock out games quick. Speaking of which, I finally started playing last weekend Watch Dogs 2. And after I beat it, I'm just gonna give it to you. But it's pretty good. It's like I guess it's kind of Mr. Robotish for the storyline. Gameplay and everything's the same. But what you'll like is it's set in San Francisco. And I know you've been to San Francisco several times. So you'll know it's literally San Francisco. Like Fisherman's Wharf, all that stuff is there. So it's cool to see, like, you know, just in general sites that you've seen and stuff. So yeah, Watch Dogs 2 I wish the Watch Dogs series would have had a lot of hype, but then with all the delays, I think Watch Dogs 1 kind of fell by the wayside, and I don't know how sales did for Watch Dogs 2. But Xbox One S, I might get just because I'm in need of an update pretty bad, and I still play video games pretty heavily, especially on the weekends. But we digress. I think we digress. Did you have any other non-wrestling topics? No, you know what? Non-wrestling topics. Let's talk about drugs. Let's talk about performance enhancers.
Oh, brother.
John Jones failed another drug test. Now, from what we know, he was drug tested all up until the fight, like these guys get. And he failed his drug test, as far as I know, after the weigh-ins, but before the fight. Excuse me. At some point, I mean, he took the drug test immediately after the fight, and his drug test before that, I think, was maybe within a week of the fight. So needless to say, within a day to a couple days of the actual fight, he took something. And for those of y'all who are listening that say, well, we're still waiting on the USADA drug test results to come back and make sure that they weren't wrong, listen, they have never been wrong. Ever. They caught your boy, if I remember right, Lance Armstrong. They weren't wrong. They caught your boy John Jones. This time, they're not going to be wrong. Last time, they weren't wrong.
They caught Roman Reigns. It wasn't wrong.
They caught Brock Lesnar. It wasn't wrong. They've caught a lot of people, and they have yet to be wrong. The only thing that people have gone back on is, well, the tainted supplements. I took something and it wasn't on the ingredients list. But you know what's funny about that? And I don't know if it's because of what me and you do for a living, but if I was a UFC fighter and I took a supplement and I failed a drug test, and that supplement was not listed on the box or the packaging, I would sue the manufacturer of that product because my image is damaged. I'm gonna lose money, all that good stuff. I can't fight now for 2 years because I'm suspended. You owe me 2 years of lost revenue. I would sue them. You never, ever, ever, you notice that, Sage? You never hear about them suing the manufacturer. That to me is suspect because
Yeah.
these guys make money, and I know whatever lawyers or public relations people or managers or agents that they have would say, no, 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 no. You got to get your money because those guys want to get paid too. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I I agree to a point in terms of the suing the manufacturer. Like if the manufacturer put ingredients that aren't supposed to be in there, they got a bad batch, then by all means go ahead and do so. But if the user, if the fighter took the supplement knowing that the supplement was on the banned list, then the onus is really on the fighter to do the research and to find out. Because I mean, it's it's not really the manufacturer's fault. It's really the fighter's fault, and that that in that retrospect. So I don't know, man. Like I'm trying not to pass judgment on John Jones on this one here because I don't know the full facts about it, but I'm gonna be sorely disappointed at the sport as a whole if if it does come out that he did take an illegal substance, because I think that at a point where before the fight actually goes on that this guy is going to get popped, I think at that point you got to pull the card, right? It's not a
Yeah,
fair
absolutely.
fight. You're putting the other fighter. I mean, that's the whole thing, right? You're putting the UFC is hiding under the veil of it's putting an unfair competition or unfair advantage to the other fighter and that they may get hurt. Well, if you're knowingly putting that person in Cormier, DC, in jeopardy by putting him against a fighter who they know is about to get popped, then UFC is ultimately at fault here. I mean, that's my opinion about it.
I agree. I feel bad the most for DC. And the things with John Jones, if this was the first time, we could write it off. Look at Anderson Silva, Junior Dos Santos. Those guys just, they failed drug tests, but they don't have a history of it. So I would full-fledged believe, hey, you took a supplement that you bought, turned out it was tainted. We know a huge chunk of those supplements are made overseas anyways, so who knows what gets into that stuff. So for those guys, I could see it. If it's your first offense and you've never failed one before, I'd even say it in Brock's case too. Your first offense, you've never failed before, you took something that was tainted, I believe you. In John Jones' case, you wrecked your Bentley when you were drunk. You had a hit and run, went back in that hit and run to go grab your bag of weed.
Cussed out an officer.
Cussed out an officer. Cocaine showed up on one drug test. Against Daniel Cormier, cocaine showed up in the first fight they had. The second one got canceled. And now the third one. I mean, come on, man. You show up with drugs 3 times in your system. As much as I wish it wasn't true, it's very difficult for me to believe that you didn't know something was in whatever thing you took. And I don't fight, so I don't know about how tough it is to go through those camps and all that. But I do know you got to be real cognizant of what goes in your body. There's a bunch of the greatest fighters of all time who don't fail drug tests. So it sucks, man. That was breaking news. And what's funny? It was breaking news on a night that ended up being entertaining, because that same night that the John Jones news broke, the Kyrie Irving to the Celtics news broke, and there was a glorious moment on that same Tuesday night. A very glorious moment, which we'll get into here in a bit. You down to get into some SummerSlam predictions?
Not predictions, but I'm down to get into.
Yeah.
A little too hard tonight, man.
Oh yeah. So I thought SummerSlam, I'm going to say this in a nutshell, I thought SummerSlam sucked, except for the main event. And you and
As
I,
a whole or as a whole, as in like NXT, SummerSlam, and the 2 shows afterwards, or we just talking about SummerSlam itself?
SummerSlam itself. I thought NXT. Okay, let's start with NXT. I thought NXT was amazing. And you text me and said, because when Sage and I text, and me and all of our wrestling buddies text, we don't text because we all watch wrestling at different times. So all you wrote was that Asuka match was great. And I watched NXT TakeOver Sunday afternoon, right before SummerSlam, which was a mistake because my emotions were all high. And I got to admit, so that Asuka match was one of the best women's matches I've seen in a long time. It was just a really good match. I think everybody, including myself, because they kept hyping up the streak, I thought, all right, Asuka's going to lose and debut on Raw or SmackDown. We'll be done. And she showed her toughness and pulled out the W. The opening match, Andrade Cien Almas versus Johnny Wrestling. Man, in our predictions last week, we were talking about, Andrade Cien's kind of the takeover jobber that's pretty decent in the ring. He got the W, fair and square, and he had a really good showing in the ring. I'm becoming a fan. We used to say they were green, but I'm a fan of the Authors of Pain now. It was Sanity looked great. Nikki Cross looked great. I'm a fan of the Authors of Pain now. I think those dudes can really work. But SummerSlam I thought was weak, but the rest of the card was awful.
So let me ask you, what were your top 3 entrances for SummerSlam weekend?
So definitely number 1 was Bobby Roode at NXT. Number 2 was much different. Asuka at NXT. She's a full-fledged heel now, and I love it. And she just plays into the character. And she could sell in the ring. Not many. It's difficult for a lot of women to sell in the ring, like to be held on the same standard of men who have been doing it for 10, 20 years or whatever. But when she sold Ember Moon's finisher, like she could just she had a dislocated shoulder or something like that in the entire match. I would say the third one, and I'm trying to think of most of SummerSlam. To be honest with you, it may go to Sanity because I just dig their entrance, man. It's just maybe the mark in us, but just the helicopter sounds and the 4 of them come out with and I like Authors of Pain entrance too, but they come out with the face covers and they're just crazy. So what about you?
Oh man, number 1 had to be that Aleister Black entrance, bruh. When he came out with the band and just stared at him and they were playing in his face, yo, coming out like a coffin, like this dude rising from the dead. Yo, Aleister Black, bruh. Number 2 would have. I'm sorry, man, but Drew McIntyre coming out to them bagpipes, yo, that had me. Yo, I wanted to download that theme song right then and there because that was pretty hot, man. And then yeah, Asuka was just one thing I noticed about Asuka when I watched her match in particular is that I don't categorize her as a women's wrestler. I seriously think that she is one of the best wrestlers, period, not just in the company, but just overall. She is one of the best wrestlers. And it's for the very same reasons that you had stated, man. She sells like crazy. Like it's a believable sell. If things don't hurt, she doesn't sell it. If things do look like they hurt or they have a big impact, she sells it like crazy, man. And like that, it was amazing to watch that match. It was which is one of my top 3 matches of the weekend itself, but it was amazing to watch that match, and I'm excited to see that we might have a, a actual wrestler vacate the belt before going up to the main roster. So that would be exciting for me.
I agree, man. Aleister Black, I slept on. Drew McIntyre, he's Scottish, right? Not Irish?
He is Scottish. I'm sorry. Yeah,
And
he's
that was
Scottish.
the only thing that was weird to me. I was always like, wait a minute, why is he coming out with Irish bagpipes if he's Scottish?
Should
Uh,
have bagpipes too, man.
do they?
Yeah,
I don't know anything about Scotland.
Celts and
Wait,
yeah, man.
for some reason, I just think of old Scrooge McDuck. Wasn't he Scottish?
Think so, man. Isn't Scotland in Ireland?
Nah, Scotland's another country.
Is it?
Maybe it's near Ireland. Man, our geography blows. It's well. Oh, before we get back into wrestling, speaking of Irish, the Fighting Irish. That's what they're known as. You got Fit Finlay, you got Sheamus, and this weekend, and we'll just quickly touch on this because I think every single media outlet in the world is going to touch on this. The Fighting Irish, Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather. Who you got?
I got McGregor winning this one, man.
What round and how?
Uh, it's probably gonna be by decision, man. Well, no, because if it goes to decision, it's gonna go to Mayweather, man. I got it going. I got it going in the 6, man. If it lasts 6 rounds, I got it to McGregor. If it goes past 6 rounds, it's gonna be Mayweather all day. But I got McGregor in the 6, man.
Well, I'm going to go with Mayweather in another traditional. I like the fights personally, but what everybody considers a boring fight. And Homeboy's going to get paid, be 50-0, and absolutely retire. SummerSlam. I thought if I had to give it a 1 out of 10, I'd say a 5 would be a stretch. So I didn't really like Nakamura, Jinder Mahal, because Jinder, I like him as a champion, and we've said we're proud of him before on the podcast, but I just didn't want to. When you have matches all weekend where people are kicking out of finishers left and right, and Jinder hits his finisher on Nakamura once, and Nakamura has kicked out of the AA, what, or like he fought when he fought John Cena, what, last week, right?
Yep.
Or was it 2 weeks ago?
That was last week.
Oh, it was a couple weeks. No, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago because he fought for the #1 contendership, right? On SmackDown.
That's right. 2 weeks ago, then.
But when he kicked out of the AA, who fought last week on SmackDown, John Cena, AA, but he can't kick out of Jinder Mahal's finisher? And I don't know, it was just, I don't know. It was just weird. I don't know. And then I'm not even going to talk about the Cass Big Show match. I don't know. Just none of the matches really. The main event was good, but none of them really better than average, right?
So did you watch the Usos and the New Day?
That's the only match I missed.
And did you watch the Tozawa and Neville?
I missed the pre-show completely because I was having some really bad WWE network issues that night.
Yeah, so those 2 matches were actually the best matches on Well, the top 3 matches on SummerSlam, in my opinion, and they didn't even make the main card.
Oh wow!
So that's that says a lot there. But I get what you're saying with the Nakamura thing, but like it's too soon for Nakamura, and I think we've talked about this, previously when we come up to one of these, you know, main four pay-per-views, the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series, respectively, is that it's kind of easier to predict whether or not the the match is going to end in shenanigans. Um, because if you know if it's on a pay-per-view where that particular brand's not going to have a pay-per-view until 5 or 6 weeks out, they need something to kind of draw it out for those next couple of weeks, for storyline purposes. So for me, it made total sense for Nakamura. Maybe it shouldn't have been booked that way, but it made total sense as to why Nakamura didn't win the championship, which is the reason why I predicted that he would win, but wouldn't actually get the title. In this case, he actually lost and didn't get the title, but he's still in contention for the title itself. So um, that's just one of the things you're gonna have to look out for, man. Is they need something to fill the next couple of weeks of programming, and unfortunately, they're not going to give you the A quality match unless they're going to be cutting the feud right then and there, like they did the AJ Styles and Kevin Owens match, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah, the match wasn't terrible. I mean, I think it'll lead to a Kevin Owens Shane McMahon match at some point. What did you think of Finn Balor's entrance? We all knew he was going to beat Bray, but what do you think of the Demon entrance?
So I didn't like the entrance too much. It wasn't. It didn't differ from the last time that we saw it, which is the whole point of why I liked Finn Balor's entrance. Like when he originally debuted as, you know, the Demon, the Scotland Demon. That was back in NXT, and then the next pay-per-view was in, I think it was in London, where he came in as Jack the Ripper.
Yep,
And then the one after that was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in Dallas.
yep,
And then from there, he reverted back to the Demon, actually back to back Demon against Seth Rollins, and then Demon against Bray Wyatt. So I guess I'm accustomed to him changing the styles up, but for some reason, he kept with the Carnage slash Venom style, which I mean, I guess I'm okay with. The thing that I did like about Finn Balor's match is that for the first time, his move sets were actually reminiscent of an actual character, different than Finn Balor. Like they weren't the same. It wasn't the same Finn Balor wrestling in the match, and especially how the way that it ended, like how he was exhausted, and then Bray Wyatt was going in for the kill, and then the Demon just rose up, and I loved it. And then he just, finished off the match. I absolutely loved. I thought that was
See,
different.
I didn't see enough of that. So the entrance, okay. So the entrance, I thought it had the Roman Reigns shield treatment. I think when I say that, I mean, I kind of wish I liked how there was a different intro to the song, but it's still the normal same song I've heard. I mean, I really like Finn Balor. So, and then in the ring, I didn't, outside of that little pop-up segment, a couple of other things that were not wrestling move related. And I can go back and watch it if I was wrong. He had the pop-up segment where Bray Wyatt does the bending over the back exorcist thing, the spider walk or demon walk or whatever, and then the demon pops up and he goes on and gets the win. But the moves he performed were the same as every Monday Night Raw Finn Balor I see, and there was no added aggression or I would have liked to have seen maybe a new move or some added demon character into the moves that I just didn't. I didn't put it this way. I didn't see when it comes to wrestling and wrestling moves in the ring,
Mhm.
outside of the pop-ups, him popping up and stuff like that. I didn't really see any difference between what I saw on regular Monday Night Raw Finn Balor. But then again, I haven't seen the Demon in a year. So maybe the Demon is just, over the next year or two, I'll see it play out that maybe the Demon is tougher to defeat. Because that's the thing. Remember last week, Finn Balor lost to Bray, and then I just didn't see something that made me believe, outside of face paint, the Demon's any different than that Bray Wyatt or than that Finn Balor on Raw. Did you?
Well, so you have to watch how he sells the moves, because that's really what it is. Like when I say his move sets kind of thing, I'm really kind of articulating like the way that he sells the moves. So when Bray at the beginning was just I think he hit him with a lariat or something like that, and he just got back up and then just like kept like wailing on him. Like you don't see that with regular Finn. Like there's 3 different Finns. So that type of that, and this is the third carnation that we actually haven't seen, is just where he encompasses the demon itself, and he doesn't sell as much. He overpowers, and then he gets exhausted, and then he just re-energizes himself, kind of like hulking up, and then goes out. If you watch the Jason Jordan match, which we'll talk about a little bit later, like that Finn Balor is different than the Finn Balor from week to week that we see, whereas he's more of like the frustrated kind, where like it's more of a heelish kind of like he sells moves, but then he just like he's a total asshole, and he just like he just beats the crap, hard sells, like strong style kind of fighting. And then you have the regular the regular Finn, who just we see Sling Blade, and then we see the I can't think of the other moves, but we see the repetitious 5 moves of Doom kind of Finn Balor. So I would venture to say to go back and look at it, just to kind of see, like, look at the SummerSlam match and then watch the Jason Jordan match and compare the styles. Like they're 2 completely different styles.
Okay. Then I'll do my homework. Rest of SummerSlam, main event was good. I thought the main event was great.
Yeah, I absolutely agreed with you, man. Both Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins, not Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar, like, yo, they put on a hell of a show, man. And I really thought that at one point that Brock was legit hurt, and maybe he was, but yeah, I went in the back, got some oxygen, came out, and I'm looking forward to them fighting at the next pay-per-view. I think it's No Mercy. They really did a great job of putting those 2 back together. I felt like Joe was the odd man out during the whole thing. Like he was there, but he was only there to kind of be the buffer between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman, which I didn't like that too much. But overall, I think that was probably one of the best matches of the night.
Okay, so to conclude this Saturday and Sunday, give me, just on Saturday and Sunday, your number 1 moment. It could be a move and something that happened of the entire weekend.
There's
Just
actually
one.
in the match.
Yeah, in ring competition, not like backstage or anything.
If I had to pick one event that stood out to me, God, there were so many, man, and it's kind of hard because that DIY match, or the Gargano and Andrade, was just such an amazing match. But when Asuka taunted Ember Moon when they were making her her announcement as champion before the match started, I thought that was amazing, because like at that point I was sold for a moment that she might actually drop the title that night, even though I had her winning the title. And that was the best match of the weekend for me. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry.
I agree. My number 1 move of the week, the number 1 moment of that Saturday and Sunday, was Nikki Cross climbing to the top rope, and she jumped outside of the ring, cross-bodied, and landed onto Razor and I think it was Razor. I forget.
I
I get
think
him
it was Acom.
confused. Was it Akam?
Yeah, I think it was Acom.
And then dude gets speared right through that table, and I was like, "Yo, this this is too good.
Yeah.
This is too good." We have some guys me and you were calling green 6 months ago, but they're a good tag team, and they have the tag team chemistry. Like when they went for it was at the near the end of the match when Razor went to powerbomb. What's his name again? I get him so confused.
Acom and Razor.
Akam. Yeah, when I think Razor went to powerbomb Akam, who was gonna suplex Killian Dane or something like that off the top rope.
Oh yeah, Nikki
And
Cross grabbed them legs.
yep, but it just goes to show as a team, like, hey, I'm willing to powerbomb you to perform this suplex off the top rope. So you're gonna go through some pain, so we could put these other people through some pain. It was just a really that was my moment of the week. And then we go into Raw, and we had the injury to old Big Cass. Did you see it? Did they cut it out? Did you watch it on Hulu? Did they cut it out?
I I watched the. I barely watched the match live. They didn't have it on Hulu. I did watch the replay of Hulu. They didn't have the match on Hulu. But yeah, I heard he's out for like 6 to 9 months or something like that.
So was this a good thing for him? So when he comes back, he'll get a little pop.
Well, I don't know if he'll get a pop. I mean, it just depends on what they do with him. It will be interesting because him and Cass are like on separate brands now. So for those who didn't watch the 205 live, Tozawa and Neville had their rubber match for the title, and Neville won. And at the very end, your boy Enzo Amore came out and said that 205 is now his place to be. And so, as you predicted, Goose, Enzo, 205 Live, it's happening.
Good. I think he'll be the best on the mic in 205 Live. I don't know much of what Enzo can do in the ring by himself, but at least
I don't
he's
know about best
entertaining.
on the mic.
Yeah, much better on the mic than he is in the ring so far. But he's been a tag team wrestler, so I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. But yeah, here's to even though we said your feuds are getting boring and everything. Here's to a speedy recovery for Big Cass. Nobody ever wants to see anybody get hurt. Raw was intense. I liked that Braun Strowman got one over on Brock. I really liked that. I thought that it set up for the match real well. I thought I'll be interested in seeing it at No Mercy. And I think the highlight of Raw, we could probably both agree, if you put a microphone in the Miz's hands, just let that dude talk. I hope none of his stuff is strictly scripted, but man, that boy can talk. That boy can
Yeah,
talk.
he had me sold, man. I was at the edge of my seat, and I couldn't really tell whether or not that was a shoot or if that was a work. Like this dude's ultra professional. I get it, man, but like when he gets that mic, man, it just you get that overflow and passion coming from him, and when you can't tell the difference between a work and a shoot, like that's magical right there. Miz still my candidate for top wrestler of the year, top wrestler, entertainer, whatever for the year, because. And the gift of gab, he's probably already got that in the bag right now, man.
Would that be his second year in a row?
It'll be his second year in a row.
Yeah, he may even get Superstar of the Year because you got to be good on the mic. And yeah, well, it might be between him and AJ Styles. AJ Styles is very, very close to taking that for the second year in a row.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's gonna be difficult, man. But speaking of speaking of that segment, man, I've got to ask you, bro. Has Brooklyn overstepped its boundaries? With the heckling and the disruption of of the program. And the reason why I say this, I get the argument. I buy my ticket. I get to heckle and do whatever I want. But like we saw this at SummerSlam, you know, with the beach ball and like the total just like didn't even have to do with the program itself. And then on Monday, like we saw the beach ball again, but even more so was the like you had a regardless of how you feel about Jason Jordan, you cannot deny that his match with Finn Balor was a damn good match.
It was
And
definitely
yet there
watchable,
was
like something you need to watch.
crickets. It was crickets, damn near crickets, and there was like stuff going on in the background. They were just to me as a fan watching, I felt uncomfortable. Like I straight up felt uncomfortable. I felt like, yo, this is why they hate us. Like this stuff right here, man. Like they're trying to do their job, and it's one thing to heckle while you're going against, like while you're engaged in the program, but this was heckling beyond that, man. Like this it had nothing to do with anything that was going on in the ring whatsoever. And I don't think that you can hide behind the fact that, well, if you put on an entertaining product, then this stuff wouldn't happen. Well, why the fuck did you buy tickets? Like, if it wasn't entertaining, why did you buy tickets to go and see the event if you're not going to participate in the event? You're going to go out and do your own thing. I mean, that's the equivalent, in my opinion, of just having your going out there, having your phones and just watching Facebook or YouTube while things are going on. Like,
It's worse because it distracts other people.
I totally agree. You know, and I I felt like they went too far, man. And I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that way. I mean, during those times of segments when that stuff was going on, I was kind of monitoring social media, and a lot of people were pretty much the same thing, man. And we've got 2 or 3 more years of this Brooklyn, 4 days in Brooklyn at SummerSlam going on. And I'm thinking to myself, like, is this even worth it? Like, if this is what we have to look forward to, is this even worth it?
So what show was it? Was it SummerSlam where Cesaro went and picked up the beach ball and destroyed it?
Yes, that was SummerSlam.
So that didn't help because for trolls, and you know I love to troll.
He got in trouble for that too.
He did. I'm not surprised because it took away from the. It gave attention to the negative thing. I thought it was awesome when it happened in ring, and it's funny because it got a pop. But okay, I will say this: you notice at NXT, small arena, and it's all marks. Nobody would dare get out a beach ball. You get a beach ball out, somebody's gonna snatch it up real quick and be like, "No, no, no, no. We got Andrade and Johnny Wrestling in the ring. Don't do that. We got some real talent in the ring." But when you get in these bigger stadiums, people want to do it. So you bought a ticket, you can do whatever you want. But I will say this. We could knock on the Brooklyn crowd for disengaging during the beach ball moments. But think about it. We had 4 days in Brooklyn. And that was 4 days and that 4 days of wrestling is a lot. Like, that's an exhausting amount of wrestling. But Brooklyn, stand up. If at the end of the day, if you went 4 straight days of wrestling, NXT's 2 hours, SummerSlam, including the pre-match, is 5 hours. So it's at 7, Raw 3, that's 10. SmackDown and 205 Live, another 3. If you went through 13 hours in 4 straight nights, and the thing is Brooklyn fans were engaged the entire time. Like the chants they were giving, Suplex City, were through the roof. The "You Both Suck" for Roman Reigns and John Cena, those chants were through the roof. For the first time ever, this is the loudest we have ever heard, when Bobby Roode, "Oh, glorious!" That was a huge moment of engagement. Even, I don't know if you heard it during the Miz's entrance when they say, "Quiet on the set, quiet on the set." All the fans screamed, "Awesome!" So I forgive them for the beach ball stuff because they were engaged the entire weekend, and they gave great pops. They gave great boos. They gave great cheers for the matches, with the exception of the beach ball incidents. They were engaged into the shows, with the exception of a beach ball. But so because of them having 4 straight nights of wrestling and them being engaged, because we both know we've talked about it before. Because you hate, or you're, I shouldn't say hate. Excuse me. Sage hasn't been a fan. Sage the Mark is not a fan of watching Monday Night Raw or Tuesday Night SmackDown when they are in Green Bay, Wisconsin,
Nope.
because the fans just sit there and enjoy the show. And we expect more out of that. At least here in America. I know in Japan they sit there and watch the show. But we had 4 days of really engaged fans, and that's a long time of wrestling. And all we're gonna say is, you had a beach ball?
Can we really say that we're engaged though? I mean, first off, like if you can't, if your hype level isn't going to be there for 4 days straight, then don't buy the damn ticket. First and foremost. But there was absolutely no engagement in the Jason Jordan Finn Balor match. There was no engagement when Sasha Banks was doing her promo against Alexa Bliss. There was no engagement in either of the women's championship matches at SummerSlam at all, completely. And I'm talking about SummerSlam, not the Asuka and Ember Moon match. Like, there was no engagement whatsoever. It was crickets during the entire thing. To me, that's not engagement itself. I mean, I think it's just blatant disrespect, man. That's what I think it is. I think it's a blatant disrespect for. It's like
They started the wave too on Raw.
yeah, and it didn't help that John Cena was pandering to that crap, but like it when you can literally just sit back and you're watching and you're cringing at the very people that you're a part of, the community that you're a part of, I think that's a problem. And I don't know personally if I can go through 2 more years of seeing SummerSlam like that. Like I like the NXT, I do, and I'm good with the NXT and I'm good with the SummerSlam there. I don't want my Raw and SmackDown right after right after WrestleMania kind of thing at Brooklyn. Obviously they can't handle it.
So you know Brooklyn was the one who created the fandangoing on the subway, right?
And that I know, but you know,
The New
give it to
York crowd.
somebody. Give it to somebody else, because obviously, you know, they they have their shiny toy, and obviously they're abusing their shiny toy. So we need to take away the shiny toy. Give it to somebody else. Let them
So
handle it for a couple.
what if they just hire more floor personnel to say, hey, if somebody starts hitting around a beach ball, just snatch it up real quick?
But it's not just that, man. Like, if it's not a beach ball, it's going to be some outrageous signs or some outrageous clothing or whatever. I don't know. If it's not one thing, it's not the other. To me, fan, when you're trying to disrupt everybody else around you from enjoying what's going on in the ring.
Yeah, and I don't know a ton about what you do as a wrestler in the ring to, like, once they start hitting the beach ball around. But it says a lot. Like, if you're in a crowd of 15,000, 20,000 people and you're getting excited about a beach ball, maybe you just don't have a lot of excitement. I don't know. Why? I mean, it got us talking.
But are you a fan of I guess that's my thing. Are you a fan of wrestling, or are you a fan of just being on TV? Because
Well, you know what? They're getting the
again,
attention. We're talking about it.
Jason Jordan, Finn Balor, that was a damn great match, and they they squandered it, man. That's a big fu to Finn Balor, and you could tell when he was in the ring that he was frustrated with the crowd too. Didn't show it. I mean, didn't want to show it too much, but you could just tell on his face, like, what the f, man? Like, I don't know, man. I I was ashamed for that moment, man. I was ashamed to be a fan, to be honest with you, man. When I'm giving props to a wrestler, I don't want them to think that I'm like that, because I'm not. That's not me, man.
Yeah.
We got to be better as fans. I guess that's all I gotta say, man. We have to get better at being fans of the product. We can have an opinion about it for all things, but we need to be, for lack of a better term, we need to be smart about it. Uh, it's one thing to be part of the show. It's another thing to be the show. We're not there to be the show.
Okay, I could agree with you definitely on that. We're not the show. We're a part of the show. SmackDown. Nakamura got his revenge easily in a squash match, beating the Singh brothers. So we got a little revenge, and we had the debut of Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode, oh so glorious! I loved it, and that Brooklyn crowd was hot when he came out. They sang the song. They got to see Bobby Roode twice. I loved the beginning of SmackDown when AJ Styles had the U.S. title open challenge, and the Bobby Roode's chant started. And Kevin Owens, being the troll heel that he was, came out and interrupted that real quick. He's perfect. Hell of a SmackDown this week. SmackDown's got 2 straight weeks that had very strong SmackDowns.
Yeah, I'm still whirling over that Money in the Bank, bro.
Well, Baron Corbin took a quick win. Well, not a quick win, but he took a loss, excuse me. He took a solid loss. Is he in the doghouse or something? Is he?
So apparently, yeah, apparently he has some heat for talking bad about people on social media, some public figures, both internal. Well, I think going beyond the kayfabe, like I think I heard like another podcaster say something to the effect that he was like dissing a military veteran at one point, and then ended up having to retract it, and then at another point saying stuff to other talents and things of that nature. But the thing that I don't get is, like, yes, he might have heat, but you don't push someone by rewarding them and giving them a new entrance music, a new entrance theme. Like, you don't reward and putting them in the main event. You don't.
Let me tell you something. For as long as I've been a wrestling fan, people have told me, and people report that when you have heat backstage, you lose a couple matches on TV. I think that's stupid. If Andrew Lincoln, who folks may know as Rick of The Walking Dead, or Daryl in The Walking Dead, have heat with the director, or they say, I don't know about this script, or they make an offensive remark on Twitter or something, they ain't going to die on next week's Walking Dead. It's still a TV show. Those are popular figures that people like. So when people say, he's got heat backstage, I'm not Meltzer or somebody report that he's got heat backstage, so therefore he's going to lose a match. That to me makes no sense, because if I was Vince McMahon and I could make money off of Sage the Mark, and Sage the Mark gets me mad, but I could still make money off of Sage the Mark, I'm not going to have him go out there and just lose a match. I could care less. Now, and it goes back to like our John Jones comment earlier. Does Dana White, how come he hasn't fired right now John Jones? Just because he knows he could make money off of a guy who could be the greatest of all time.
So he's got to wait. He's got to wait for the hearing to happen before he can take any action. But let me just interject real quick. So that's not entirely true, right? Because I mean, who's the guy from that TV show with the singers, the black ones?
Randy Jackson?
No, the TV show, man, with Cookie and Lucius Lyon. Who plays Lucius Lyon?
Terrence Howard.
Terrence Howard, right? He had heat in Iron Man, and what did the director do? He replaced him with Don Cheadle. So
bro. Terrence Howard asked for a lot of extra money.
And he got that heat, son.
We're not going to pay you that money, so we're going to go get somebody who will take yo money.
He got that heat, son.
You can't, when people say he has people who have heat backstage, first and foremost, and that's the thing, and that's why we talked about the dirt sheets a couple weeks ago. The dirt sheets are stupid. They're silly. It you say he has heat for talking bad to people on social media, yet you have Rusev and Jinder Mahal who go out on TV every week
Uh,
and say you Americans don't do this. You Americans, it is their
but
job.
that's different, man. So hold on. So the heat that you and I think of as a fan isn't the kind of heat that the wrestlers have in the background. So when we think of someone having the heat and getting buried, we're thinking, like you said, them losing matches and that's kind of the end of it. But on the business side of the house, it's more of devaluing their brand, which impacts the amount of money that they get, like the merch sales that they get, which means less TV time for them or putting them on an obscured program that nobody ever watches. Like that's their deep push. Like if they're doing something that harms the brand, then they get buried. That's how they get buried. It hits them in their pocket. So we're not going to see any more T-shirts of Enzo Amore. We're not going to see any more of the hair things of Enzo Amore as long as he has the heat. Like they're going to stop pushing that stuff so heavily. You're not going to see as many of those camera shots because that's the marketing, right? You see people wearing it. You're not going to see those camera shots of that. You're not going to see him on TV as much. So that's his devaluing of the product itself. So uh, that's that's what I think that the heat from the wrestling side of the business is.
Yeah, it's tough to really pinpoint. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see where Baron Corbin comes up because we could say he's got people say he's got heat or whatnot, but it looks like he's about to start a feud with AJ Styles. Rest of SmackDown I thought was pretty good. You got they're okay. So we just say one thing and hopefully agree on this. The SmackDown roster is stacked, right?
It is stacked, but where Ty Dillinger at though?
That is my where are they now moment. Where is Ty Dillinger? Where are Mike and Maria Kanellis? Where are they? Where they at? Where they at? Where they at? The No Limit Soldiers. Where they at?
Yeah, they gotta show up, man. Now that you got Bobby Roode there and you potentially get AOP next week, um, there's no reason Ty Dillinger shouldn't be involved in those matches whatsoever. Him and Zayn could be with against AOP, or we could have a triple tag team thing uh, with the Fashion Police and
Where's Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley? Where are they?
uh, they fought. They fought this week.
Did
They
they?
lost. Yeah, they lost to the Usos.
That's right. They did lose, and that was actually a pretty good match.
Yeah, it's
So
actually a
we were
really good
still waiting
match.
for the Zack Ryder possible heel turn.
Yeah,
Where
which
are the
looks like
Fashion
they dialed
Police?
back on. So that was kind of weird. Fashion Police had a segment this week, but they did say last week that they'd be back 2 weeks from then, which will put it next week, which was the big reveal, which is AOP. Not to mention, we got our boy Shelton Benjamin, the gold standard,
Yes.
back. Yo,
Yeah.
our tag team division is back, son. I'm so excited. Our tag team division is back. SmackDown #1.
Yeah. Either which way, man, we just had such a great week in wrestling. Good 4 days. We had beach balls. We had arguments. We had heat. We had injuries. Got a lot going on this week. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on? Because I'm out. I'm out. I just talked about
You
everything.
out. Nah, we gotta get into some of these shout outs though, man, before we hit the
Yeah,
get these
definitely. I
things.
agree. I agree. We had some good interaction this week. Fans, we love you guys. So who do we got on the shout outs this week?
Let's hit the shout outs. Okay. So we got Aaron Berry. We have Kendra Bunyan at K Bunyan. We have Young O Mizzy Man. Mizzy, I don't know how to at M33ZY Man. Got Harold. We got Wrestling Royalty. We've got Talking Taker Podcast. We got MMA Master Day. Patrick Teagle. We got a verified Mark Zamet, who apparently is an actor and director. So, yo, thanks for hitting us up there. We got Ramsey at WWE Ramsey. Apparently, he says he's a writer. Figure that out. We got Cody James at Feature Cody, and we've got Michael Souza, Mike Souza JT. So thank you guys all for following us on Twitter. Thank you so much, guys, for continuing to subscribe to us. Don't forget, we still got a contest going on, which doesn't end, but our first drawing is going to be next week. And that is for a 2K copy of WWE. As you guys may know, the only way that you guys can, or the way that you can enter into the contest is by taking a screenshot of you subscribing to our audio podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever else you get your podcast, and just hashtag or post that picture on any of your social media accounts with the hashtag IRWP, and you'll be automatically entered into the drawing. So don't forget about that, guys. First drawing is next Thursday, so please feel free to show some love and support for our brand, because it's your brand.
Beach balls or not.
That's for damn sure.
So I agree. Normally last week we'd like to touch on, world peace and just say everybody keep it real and everything. We touched on some topics last week. Again, just keep it up. Keep people happy. Do something nice for somebody this weekend, even if you don't know them. Say hi to somebody that you don't know, or hey, how you doing? To a cashier you go to. World peace, love, unity, and respect, everybody. I'm your boy Ben Goose, and hit me up on Twitter, @RealBenGoose, IRWP.us. That's the website. Help us out on the Patreon account. Upcoming this Christmas, we'll have another way you guys can help us out with our Amazon affiliate page that we're going to be rolling out. Man, look at me. Look at my mic skills. I just burped while I was talking. That's what keeps me out of the WWE. But don't hesitate to help us out if you can. If you can't, that's fine. Just go on Twitter and tell us something. Whatever you listen to this podcast on, that's fine. Hit a like. Give us a comment. Say, hey, your podcast is terrible. That's fine. Say, hey, your podcast is great. Do everything you can. Either which way, peace, love, unity, and respect. Go out and love each other. I'm Ben Goosen. I'm here with my boy Sage the Mark. I don't have anything else but to tell y'all, keep it real.
Keep it real.